The space around Earth's solar system was quiet. Stars shined in the distance like tiny diamonds on black cloth. Nothing moved except dust and small rocks floating through the emptiness. Then something changed. The space itself seemed to tear open. A bright light flashed and suddenly a massive ship appeared where nothing existed before. The ship was beautiful and frightening at the same time. Its metal surface reflected the light from distant stars. Strange symbols covered its hull in patterns that humans had never seen. Inside the ship, Ambassador Velthar stood on the command bridge. He was not human. His species, the Castrali, had traveled through space for thousands of years. They knew many things about the galaxy that humans did not. Velthar had soft gray fur covering his body and large eyes that could see colors humans could not imagine. His long fingers touched the control panel in front of him as he studied the readings. This was not his first time meeting a new species. In fact, it was his 48th time. He had done this job for 300 years. Every time was similar. A new species discovered faster than light travel. They sent out signals. The Galactic Council noticed. The Council sent someone like Velthar to say hello and explain how the galaxy worked. Usually the new species was scared. Sometimes they were excited. Always they were surprised to learn they were not alone. Velthar knew exactly what to do. He would arrive, stay far away to show he meant no harm, send friendly messages, and wait. Most species invited him to their planet within days. Then the real work began. He expected humans to be the same as all the others. The communications officer, a young Castrali named Rin, turned toward Velthar. Her ears twitched with excitement. She had never been part of First Contact before. This was special for her. "Ambassador, we are receiving a transmission from the planet," Rin announced. Her voice shook slightly with nervousness. Velthar nodded. "Play it for everyone to hear." A human voice filled the bridge. It spoke in a language the ship's computers quickly translated into Castrali. The voice was calm and clear. No fear, no panic. Just professional and direct. "This is Earth Defense Command. We see you. We know you are there. Please stay where you are. Do not come closer to our planet. We will send a ship to meet you. It will arrive in 6 hours. We come in peace. We hope you do too." Velthar's whiskers moved upward. This was a good sign. The humans were organized. They had a military command structure. They understood the importance of this moment. Many species panicked during First Contact. Some attacked, some hid. But these humans seemed ready. "Send our response," Velthar ordered. "Tell them we accept their terms. We will wait. We mean no harm to their world or their people." Rin worked quickly at her station. Within moments, the message was sent. Then came the waiting. 6 hours was not long, but it felt longer when you stood on the edge of history. Velthar used the time to study Earth. His sensors showed him a beautiful blue and green planet. Oceans covered most of its surface. Clouds swirled in white patterns. Cities glowed on the dark side where night had fallen. From space, Earth looked peaceful and lovely. But his sensors also showed other things. Weapons platforms orbited the planet. Not many, but enough. Satellites of every kind filled the space around Earth. Some were for communication, some for navigation, some were clearly military. The humans were watching everything that approached their world. 6 hours passed. Velthar was drinking tea when the sensor officer called out urgently. "Ambassador, a ship is approaching. It just appeared on our sensors, moving toward us at high speed." Velthar set down his cup and walked to the main display. "Show me." The holographic image appeared in the center of the bridge. Every member of the crew stopped what they were doing and stared. Nobody spoke. Nobody could speak. The human ship was enormous. Velthar's own vessel, the Radiant Dawn, was considered large. It measured 1,200 meters from front to back. Most species needed centuries to build ships that size. The Radiant Dawn was Velthar's pride. It showed the power and wisdom of the Castrali Empire. The human ship was 8 kilometers long. It was not beautiful like the Radiant Dawn. It was not smooth or elegant. The human ship looked like it was built for war. Its hull was dark gray metal covered in armor plates. Massive weapons turrets stuck out from its sides like thorns on a deadly plant. Launch bays opened along its length, each one large enough to hold smaller ships. Scars marked the armor, places where weapons had struck it in past battles. This was not a diplomatic ship. This was a warship. A monster, a titan. Velthar felt his hearts beating faster. The Castrali had 2 hearts, and both were racing now. Check the sensors again, he said quietly. Make sure they are working correctly. The sensor officer tapped commands into his console. He checked once, twice, 3 times. Finally, he looked up at Velthar with wide eyes. The sensors are working perfectly, sir. The measurements are correct. That ship really is 8 kilometers long, Rin spoke in a whisper. How is that possible? They only discovered faster than light travel recently. Our records say less than 100 years ago. How could they build something so huge in such a short time? Nobody had an answer. The human ship moved closer, and now Velthar could see more details. It was not alone. Smaller ships flew in formation around it like children following their mother. These escort ships were each the size of normal warships, but compared to the massive carrier, they looked like toys. Ambassador, they are contacting us, Rin said. Put them on screen. A human appeared on the main view screen. He wore a dark blue uniform with symbols on the shoulders that must have shown his rank. His face was calm and serious. Behind him, Velthar could see a massive bridge filled with crew members working at stations arranged in tiers. Everything looked organized and professional. The human spoke. His words were translated instantly. Ambassador Velthar of the Castrali Empire. I am Admiral Tae-Yang Kim of the United Earth Navy. I command the Titan-class carrier Indomitable. Welcome to our solar system. We are happy to meet you in peace. Velthar forced himself to appear calm. Inside, his mind was racing with questions. But his training took over. He had been a diplomat for 300 years. He knew how to stay professional even when surprised. Admiral Kim, thank you for your greeting. We also come in peace. We bring messages from the Galactic Council and hope to begin friendly relations with your people. He paused. Forgive me, but we expected a diplomatic vessel. Your ship is impressive. The Admiral's expression did not change. The Indomitable serves many purposes, Ambassador. We can fight if we must. We can explore if needed. And we can carry diplomats when meeting unknown visitors. We have learned to be ready for anything. Ready for anything. Those words told Velthar much about humans. They expected danger. They prepared for the worst. But they hoped for the best. How long have your people been traveling faster than light? Velthar asked. 73 years, Admiral Kim replied. 73 years. The Castrali took 500 years to build their first ship half this size. Other species took even longer. But humans had done it in less than a century. What kind of species could accomplish such a thing? We would be honored if you would visit Earth, the Admiral continued. Our leaders want to meet you. We have prepared everything for your arrival. Velthar nodded slowly. We accept your invitation. Thank you for your hospitality. The transmission ended. Velthar stood in silence for a moment, staring at the massive human warship on his sensors. His crew waited for orders. Finally, his security chief approached. Sir, should we inform the Galactic Council? Velthar looked at the human ship one more time. The mighty Indomitable, the Titan-class carrier that should not exist. The impossible ship built by a species that had barely left their homeworld. Yes, he said quietly. Send a message to the Council. Tell them humanity is not like the other species we have met. Tell them we may need to reconsider our assumptions about these people. Tell them. He paused, searching for the right words. Tell them everything is about to change. The shuttle that carried Velthar and his team toward Earth was small and comfortable. Through the windows he watched as they came closer to the blue planet. What he saw made him more curious and more worried at the same time. Stations circled the planet like a metal ring. Some were military bases covered in weapons. Others were factories where workers built ships and equipment. A few were clearly for living, with large windows and gardens visible inside. Everything was connected by streams of small ships moving supplies and people from place to place. Velthar counted them quietly. 37 major installations, dozens of smaller ones. All of this built in just 73 years. It should have been impossible. Most species took centuries to build even 5 or 6 stations this size. Counselor Misun Park, his young assistant, sat beside him. She was also Castrali, but much younger than Velthar. She had only been a diplomat for 20 years. Her eyes were wide as she looked out at the human structures. How did they build so much so quickly? She whispered to Velthar. He shook his head slowly. I do not know. But I intend to find out. Their human escort, Commander Haewon Choi, sat across from them. She was a woman with short dark hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She wore the same blue uniform as Admiral Kim, but with different symbols showing her rank. Your planet is very beautiful, Velthar said to her. Thank you, Commander Choi replied. We work hard to keep it that way. As they descended through the atmosphere, Velthar saw more. Earth's surface was not perfect. He could see old scars on the land, places where nothing grew, cities that were clearly being rebuilt, large areas that looked like they had been destroyed by terrible weapons and were only now healing. Your world has seen war, he said quietly. It was not a question. Commander Choi's face became hard. Her jaw tightened. Yes, we have known war. More war than any species should ever know. I am sorry, Velthar said. He meant it. He had seen war before among the stars. It always left scars. Do not be sorry, the commander said. What happened taught us important lessons. After our worst wars ended, we realized something. We could destroy ourselves fighting over one small planet, or we could work together and reach for the stars. We chose the stars. The shuttle landed at a place called Geneva Spaceport. It was enormous. The landing field was large enough for 100 ships. Buildings stretched in every direction. Velthar noticed weapons hidden in clever places. Guard towers watched everything. Soldiers trained in the distance. This was not just a spaceport. It was a fortress that looked like a spaceport. Humans were very good at making things look peaceful while being ready for war. Velthar found this both impressive and concerning. A group of humans waited for them near the shuttle. In the center stood a woman wearing formal clothes instead of a military uniform. She was older with gray in her dark hair, but she stood straight and strong. Important people surrounded her. Military officers, scientists, government officials. Admiral Kim was there too, standing slightly behind the woman. The shuttle door opened. Velthar walked down the ramp with his team behind him. The air was cool and fresh. It smelled like growing things and distant rain. The woman stepped forward and extended her hand in the human greeting gesture. Velthar had studied their customs carefully. He reached out and gently grasped her hand. Ambassador Velthar, she said with a warm smile. I am Secretary General Da Yun Lee. I represent all the people and nations of Earth. Welcome to our world. We hope this is the beginning of a long friendship. Secretary General Lee, Velthar replied. The Galactic Council sends greetings. We hope the same. You must be tired, Lee said. We have prepared rooms for you and your team. Tomorrow we will talk about important things. But tonight please rest, eat, relax. You have traveled very far. Velthar appreciated her kindness. The humans understood hospitality. They knew how to make visitors feel welcome. They were taken to a beautiful building near the spaceport. Their rooms were large and comfortable. The furniture was different from what Castrali used, but it worked well enough. Big windows showed a view of mountains with white snow on top. The sun was setting, painting the sky in colors of orange and purple. That evening, Velthar gathered his team in his room. His security chief, Commander Thax, had been busy collecting information. Now he shared what he had learned. The humans are more militarized than any new species I have ever seen, Thax said. He was old, even older than Velthar, and he had seen many things in his long life. Every station in orbit has weapons. Every major city has defenses. Their military is not small. According to what I could learn, they have at least 200 warships of different types. 200? Velthar repeated. In 73 years? That is impossible. Apparently not for humans, Counselor Park said. She had been studying information the humans gave them access to. Her tablet showed charts and numbers. Look at this. Their factories work all day and all night. They use machines to do most of the building. What takes us 5 years to build, they finish in 8 months. Velthar looked at the numbers. They were incredible. The humans had turned their entire civilization into a machine for building ships and weapons. But why? He asked. They just discovered faster than light travel. They just learned they are not alone in the universe. What makes them build so many warships so quickly? Nobody had an answer. The room fell silent as they all thought about this mystery. Counselor Park spoke quietly. Maybe they are afraid. Afraid of what? Thax asked. Of being destroyed, she said. Remember what Commander Choi told us? They had terrible wars. Maybe they fear it could happen again. Maybe they fear something from space could threaten them. Velthar considered this. It made sense. Species that survived great tragedies often became very cautious. They prepared for the worst because they had experienced the worst. He walked to the window and looked out at the city lights below. Millions of humans lived down there, each one with their own life, their own hopes, their own fears. They had nearly destroyed themselves once. Now they reached for the stars, but they did it with weapons ready and armor thick. Were they dangerous? Were they peaceful? Maybe they were both. Maybe that was what made them so different from other species the Council had met. Tomorrow we will learn more, Velthar said to his team. The Secretary General promised to talk. I believe she will answer our questions. Humans seem to value honesty. Should we be worried? Counselor Park asked. Velthar thought about the massive Indomitable, about the orbital stations, about the 200 warships, about the speed at which humans built everything, about their history of terrible wars, about the scars still visible on their planet. I do not know yet, he answered honestly. I do not know if they are future friends or future threats. But I do know this. The Galactic Council needs to understand what kind of species we are dealing with. Because humans are different. Very different. He paused and looked at each member of his team. Whatever we learn tomorrow, we must report it accurately to the Council. The future relationship between humanity and the galaxy may depend on our next conversation. As night fell completely over Geneva, Velthar stood at his window for a long time. He watched the lights of the city. He watched the stars appear one by one in the sky. Somewhere up there the Indomitable orbited, a silent guardian watching over its homeworld. Tomorrow would bring answers. Velthar hoped those answers would help him understand these strange, fierce, complicated beings called humans. The galaxy had welcomed many species over thousands of years, but something told him that humanity would be remembered as special. The question was whether they would be remembered as great allies or great dangers. Only time would tell. Morning came with golden sunlight streaming through the windows. Velthar woke early, his mind already thinking about the meeting ahead. He dressed carefully in his formal diplomatic robes and made sure his team was ready. Today would be important. Today he would learn the truth about humanity. They were taken to a meeting room high in a government building. The room had large windows showing the beautiful Swiss Alps in the distance. Their white peaks touched the blue sky like fingers reaching for heaven. Inside, the room was comfortable but serious. A long table sat in the center with chairs on both sides. Secretary General Lee waited for them. Admiral Kim sat to her right. Several other humans sat around the table. Scientists, military officers, government advisors. Each one looked intelligent and serious. Ambassador Velthar, Lee said as they entered. Please sit. Can we offer you food or drink? Thank you, but no, Velthar replied politely. We are eager to begin our discussion. Everyone sat down. Lee folded her hands on the table and looked directly at Velthar. Her eyes were kind but also very sharp. This was a leader who understood the weight of important decisions. Ambassador, before we discuss joining the Galactic Council, I believe you deserve to understand us better. You have seen our military strength. You have seen how quickly we build ships and stations. You are wondering why. You are wondering what kind of species we are. Velthar appreciated her honesty. Yes, Secretary General. Those questions have occupied my thoughts since we arrived. Lee nodded. She gestured to a man sitting nearby. This is Dr. Byung-Ho Kang. He is our chief historian. He will explain our past. I warn you, Ambassador, some of what you will hear is not pleasant. Dr. Kang was an older man with white hair and sad eyes. He activated a holographic display that appeared above the center of the table. Images began to show as he spoke. 200 years ago, Ambassador, Earth had 9 billion people. We lived in hundreds of different nations. Each nation wanted different things. Some had resources. Some wanted resources. Some had power. Some wanted power. We competed against each other constantly. The hologram showed a beautiful Earth covered in green forests and blue oceans. Cities glowed with lights. It looked peaceful and wonderful. Then came the resource wars, Dr. Kang continued. His voice became quieter and sadder. The hologram changed. Now it showed terrible destruction. Cities burning, forests dead and gray, oceans polluted and dark, weapons of incredible power leaving craters in the land, people running and screaming, death everywhere. Velthar felt his heart grow heavy. He had seen war before in his long life. But this was different. This was a species destroying itself. 3 billion people died, Dr. Kang said. Each word was heavy with sorrow. More than 1/3 of all humanity. Gone. Cities that stood for thousands of years were destroyed in hours. Our planet's ability to support life was damaged badly. Many thought we would not survive. Counselor Park, sitting beside Velthar, made a small sound of distress. Even Commander Thax, who had seen many battles, looked disturbed. "I am deeply sorry," Velthar said softly. "No species should suffer such tragedy." Secretary General Lee spoke next. "Thank you, Ambassador." But from that darkness came light. When the wars finally ended, the survivors realized something important. We had nearly destroyed ourselves fighting over one small planet. If we continued on that path, humanity would die. So we chose a different path. The hologram changed again. Now it showed people of different nations meeting together, talking, planning, building, working side by side. The United Earth government was formed, Lee continued. Not by conquest, not by force, but by choice. Every nation agreed to work together. Every person agreed that survival was more important than old disagreements. We made a promise to each other and to future generations. Never again would we turn our weapons on ourselves. Admiral Kim spoke for the first time. His voice was firm and strong. We had factories built for making weapons of war. We had scientists who understood destruction. We had soldiers trained to fight. Instead of eliminating all of this, we redirected it. We pointed it toward a new goal. Not conquest, not destruction, but survival, expansion, growth. If we nearly destroyed ourselves fighting over one planet's resources, the Admiral continued, the answer was simple. Get more planets, reach for the stars, spread humanity across multiple worlds. That way, if one world was destroyed, our species would survive. Velthar began to understand. So your rapid expansion was not about building an empire. It was about ensuring survival. Exactly, Lee said. We learned our lesson, Ambassador. We learned it in blood and fire. We learned it by losing 3 billion of our people. The lesson was this. Putting all of humanity on one planet made us vulnerable, weak. One disaster could end us. We refused to remain that vulnerable. Dr. Kang brought up new images. These showed strange ruins on distant planets. Ancient buildings empty and broken. Cities that had been abandoned for thousands of years. 40 years ago, Dr. Kang explained, one of our exploration probes found these ruins, an ancient civilization. They had achieved spaceflight. They built wonderful things on many worlds. Then they vanished. We found no survivors, no records of what destroyed them. Just empty cities and unanswered questions. The images were haunting. Velthar had seen similar ruins in other parts of the galaxy. Ancient species that had disappeared for unknown reasons. The galaxy was old and held many mysteries. That discovery changed everything, Secretary General Lee said. We realized we were probably not alone in the universe. And if something could destroy an entire civilization that had spread across many worlds, we needed to be ready. We needed to be strong. We needed to be prepared. Admiral Kim leaned forward. So we built the Titan-class carriers, ships like the Indomitable. But we did not build them as weapons of conquest, Ambassador. We built them as arcs. Each Titan carries everything needed to start a new colony. Manufacturing equipment, food supplies, medical facilities, seeds and animals, knowledge databases. If Earth ever faced destruction again, whether from our own mistakes or from external threats, humanity would survive. Velthar sat back in his chair. His mind raced with new understanding. He had judged humans incorrectly. He had seen their weapons and assumed they were warlike. He had seen their rapid expansion and assumed they were aggressive. But the truth was completely different. Humans were not conquerors. They were survivors. Every ship they built was built from necessity. Every weapon they carried was carried from caution. Every station they constructed was insurance against extinction. They had learned the hardest lesson any species could learn, and they had learned it by nearly dying. In 3,000 years of studying emerging civilizations, Velthar said slowly, I have never met a species like yours. Most achieve space travel through slow progress over many centuries. You achieved it because you needed to survive. Most species explore the stars from curiosity. You explore them from necessity. Does that concern the Galactic Council? Lee asked carefully. Velthar smiled slightly. On the contrary, Secretary General, I believe it makes you exactly the kind of allies we need. The galaxy can be dangerous. Threats exist that most peaceful species are not prepared to face. You understand the cost of being unprepared. You understand the value of strength used for defense rather than aggression. He looked at each human in the room. You built your civilization from ruins. You unified your species after nearly destroying it. You reached for the stars not from pride but from wisdom. Yes, you are heavily armed. Yes, you build ships faster than should be possible. But now I understand why. And that understanding changes everything. Secretary General Lee smiled. It was a warm smile but also a tired one. The smile of someone who had carried heavy burdens for a long time. Thank you, Ambassador. It means much to hear those words from you. They talked for hours more that day. About Earth's recovery. About their plans for the future. About their hopes and their fears. By the time the sun began to set behind the mountains, Velthar felt he understood humans much better than before. They were not perfect. No species was, but they had learned from their mistakes. They had chosen survival over destruction, unity over division, and that made them worthy of respect. 3 more days passed in Geneva. During that time, Velthar and his team had many meetings with human leaders. They discussed trade. They discussed science. They discussed culture and art. Every conversation helped Velthar understand humanity better. Each evening, he sent detailed reports back to the Galactic Council. He described everything he learned. He explained human history. He analyzed their capabilities. And each morning he received responses from the Council. Their interest in humanity grew with every report. On the 4th day, Velthar received a special message. The Council had made their decision. They gave him authorization to present a formal proposal to Earth's government. This was the moment he had been waiting for. He called for a meeting with Secretary General Lee and her advisors. They gathered again in the room with the mountain view. This time, the atmosphere felt different, more formal, more important. Velthar stood and addressed the assembled humans. Secretary General Lee, Admiral Kim, distinguished members of Earth's government, I've received word from the Galactic Council. They have authorized me to extend a formal invitation to humanity. He paused, letting the importance of this moment sink in. The Galactic Council invites humanity to become a full member of the galactic community. You would have all the rights and responsibilities that come with membership, access to our trading networks, access to our scientific knowledge, access to our diplomatic channels, a voice in decisions that affect the entire galaxy. The humans looked at each other. Secretary General Lee maintained her calm expression, but Velthar could see excitement in her eyes. Admiral Kim nodded slowly as if he had expected this. The other advisors whispered to each other quietly. We are honored, Ambassador, Lee said carefully. This is an incredible opportunity for humanity. However, we would be foolish to accept without fully understanding what we are agreeing to. You mentioned responsibilities. Can you explain what those are? Velthar had expected this question. Humans were not naive. They thought carefully before making important decisions. Of course, Secretary General. The Galactic Council maintains peace among its member species. We mediate disputes when species disagree. We enforce treaties when they are broken. And we collectively defend against external threats when they appear. He continued. Membership requires that you contribute to this common defense. You must respect the established borders of other species. You must follow galactic law. And when the Council calls for help, you must provide it. Admiral Kim leaned forward. External threats. You mean there are hostile species in the galaxy? The galaxy is vast, Admiral, Velthar replied. Most species we encounter are peaceful and reasonable. But not all. The Council has faced raiders who steal and destroy. We have faced expansionist empires that want to conquer others. We have faced worse things that I will not describe now. Membership provides protection from these threats, but it also requires that you help protect others. General Sang-Woo Han, who led all of Earth's military forces, spoke up. He was a tall man with gray hair and many medals on his uniform. What level of military commitment are we discussing, Ambassador? Typically, new members contribute patrol vessels and support ships to Council peacekeeping forces, Velthar explained. Perhaps 5 to 10 ships initially. As your fleet grows over the years, your contribution would grow as well. The Council does not expect you to match the military power of species that have been members for centuries. We understand you are new to the galaxy. He paused before adding his next point. However, I should mention that several Council members have expressed specific interest in humanity. Your manufacturing capabilities are extraordinary. Your military doctrine is innovative. Your rapid industrialization represents a unique strategic advantage. Other species want to learn from you. They want to partner with you. Dr. Byung-Ho Kang, the historian, observed quietly. They want to learn our methods. Yes, Velthar confirmed, and potentially form partnerships with you. The Council faces challenges, you see. Our territory is vast. Our resources are stretched across thousands of star systems. Border regions are sometimes vulnerable. A species that can build fleets as efficiently as humanity could help stabilize those vulnerable areas. Secretary General Lee sat quietly for a moment, thinking. Everyone waited for her to speak. Finally, she looked at Velthar with serious eyes. Ambassador, this decision affects not just our current generation but all future generations of humanity. This will change our entire civilization. We cannot rush such an important choice. We need time to discuss this internally, time to consider all implications, time to ensure we make the right decision. Velthar nodded with understanding. Of course, Secretary General. Take whatever time you need. This is perhaps the most important decision humanity has ever faced. It should not be made hastily. Thank you, Ambassador, Lee said with genuine gratitude. That evening, Admiral Kim invited Velthar to observe a military training exercise. The invitation was informal, but Velthar understood its real purpose. The Admiral wanted to show him something. He wanted Velthar to see humanity's capabilities in action. They traveled to an orbital observation station. From there, they could watch the exercise taking place in the space around Earth. Through large windows, Velthar saw dozens of human warships moving in formation. Frigates and destroyers moved together like schools of fish. They turned at exactly the same moment. They accelerated in perfect synchronization. They formed defensive patterns and offensive formations with precision that took most species centuries to develop. Beautiful, is it not? Admiral Kim said as they watched. He stood beside Velthar at the window, his hands clasped behind his back. Each ship is crewed by people who have trained their entire adult lives for this. They are not just following orders, Ambassador. They understand why they serve. They understand what they are protecting. To prevent another catastrophe, Velthar said, remembering what he had learned about the resource wars. To give humanity a future worth protecting, Admiral Kim corrected gently. We do not build these ships because we love war, Ambassador. We build them because we love peace enough to fight for it. Every person and every crew of every ship understands this. They serve not because they must, but because they choose to. Velthar watched the exercise continue. The ships performed complex maneuvers. They practiced formations used for defense. They practiced tactics used to protect civilian vessels. They practiced everything they would need if danger ever came to their home. But what impressed Velthar most was not their skill. It was their purpose. These were not soldiers who served because someone forced them. These were people who chose to stand between their civilization and danger. They had learned from their terrible past and decided to create a better future. Your people have something special, Admiral, Velthar said quietly. Something that cannot be built in factories or taught in schools. You have collective memory of what can be lost, and that memory drives you to protect what you have gained. Admiral Kim turned to look at him. Yes, exactly that. We remember. We will always remember. And because we remember, we will always be vigilant. They watched in silence for a while longer. The ships moved through the darkness of space with practiced grace. Each one represented hundreds of lives. Each one represented years of work and resources. Each one represented humanity's determination to survive. I hope your leaders accept our invitation, Velthar said finally. I truly do. The Galactic Council needs species like yours. We need your strength. We need your perspective. We need people who understand that peace must be actively protected, not passively hoped for. So do I, Ambassador, Admiral Kim replied. So do I. Humanity has been alone for so long. We have struggled and suffered alone. The chance to join a community of species, to stand with allies instead of standing alone, that would mean everything to us. The ships completed their exercise and began returning to their stations. One by one, their engines flared bright as they moved away. Soon, the space around the observation station was empty again except for distant stars. But Velthar knew that emptiness was an illusion. Humanity had filled this solar system with presence and purpose. They had taken a devastated planet and turned it into the heart of a growing civilization. They had learned hard lessons and used that knowledge to build something remarkable. The question now was whether they would choose to share that remarkable quality with the rest of the galaxy. Velthar believed they would. He had seen enough of humanity to know they valued connection and cooperation. They had unified their own world. Why would they not reach out to unify with others? Only time would tell. But Velthar was hopeful. Very hopeful indeed. 2 weeks passed. Velthar waited patiently in Geneva, while the humans discussed and debated. He knew this was normal. Important decisions required time and careful thought. He used the waiting time to learn more about human culture, their art, their music, their literature. Each day he understood them better. Finally, Secretary General Li requested a meeting. When Velthar arrived at the government building, he was surprised by what he saw. The meeting room was filled with hundreds of people. Some were there in person. Most appeared as holographic projections, connected from all over Earth and from human colonies on other worlds. Every nation was represented. Every colony had sent delegates. Every major city had someone present. This was not just a meeting of leaders. This was humanity gathering to speak with one voice about their future. Velthar felt nervous. In all his 300 years of diplomatic service, this moment felt uniquely important. What these people decided today would change the galaxy. He believed that with complete certainty. Secretary General Li stood at the center of the room. She looked at all the assembled representatives, then turned to face Velthar. Her expression was serious but warm. "Ambassador Velthar," she began. Her voice carried clearly through the room and through the holographic connections to listeners across the solar system. "For 2 weeks we have discussed your proposal. We have debated in every nation. We have consulted scientists and military leaders. We have asked our people what they want. We have thought carefully about what this decision means for humanity's future." She paused. The room was completely silent. Everyone waited. "Today we have our answer," Li announced. "Humanity accepts the Galactic Council's invitation. We agree to become full members of the galactic community. We will abide by council law. We will contribute to collective security. We will work toward peaceful coexistence with all member species." Relief and joy washed over Velthar. His whiskers twitched upward in the Castrali expression of happiness. "Secretary General, the Council will be delighted to hear. However," Li continued, raising one hand gently, "we accept with one condition." Velthar paused. Conditions were unusual, but not impossible. "Please proceed." Admiral Kim stood from where he had been sitting. "Ambassador, you requested that we contribute 5 to 10 ships to Council peacekeeping operations. We propose something different. Humanity will provide one Titan-class carrier, fully crewed and equipped with everything needed for extended operations, to serve under Council authority." Velthar's eyes widened with shock. A Titan-class carrier was worth 20 conventional warships. It was more than he had dared hope for. "That is extraordinarily generous, Admiral. But surely you need those ships for—" "We are not finished," General Sang Wuhan interrupted. He stood as well, his metals glinting in the light. "The carrier will not go alone. It will be accompanied by a full battle group. 4 escort cruisers, 8 destroyers, 16 frigates, all modern vessels, all well-trained crews." Velthar felt dizzy. This was far more than standard membership required. This was an incredible commitment. "General, this is beyond what anyone expected." Secretary General Li spoke again. "Additionally, we propose establishing a joint training facility. Council military forces would be welcome to learn our manufacturing techniques and tactical doctrines. We will share our knowledge freely with our allies," she continued, her voice growing stronger. "Furthermore, we propose a mutual defense pact. Any attack on any council member will be treated as an attack on humanity itself. We will commit our full industrial capacity to the defense of our allies. When one of us is threatened, all of us respond." Velthar struggled to find words. This commitment exceeded anything the Council had ever received from a new member. Most species contributed the minimum required. They waited years before increasing their involvement. But humanity was offering everything from the beginning. "Secretary General," he finally managed to say, "this is far beyond standard membership requirements. May I ask why? Why offer so much?" Li's expression grew solemn, sad but also determined. "Because we learned, Ambassador. We learned what happens when civilizations stand alone. We learned what happens when people fail to support each other. Our resource wars taught us that isolation breeds catastrophe. Division creates weakness. Selfishness leads to destruction." She looked around at all the human representatives in the room and on the holographic displays. "We almost destroyed ourselves because we refused to work together. We almost lost everything because each nation cared only for itself. We survived only by learning to cooperate, by learning to stand together instead of apart. Admiral Kim added, "If we are joining the galactic community, we will not do it half-heartedly. We will not hold back. We will not contribute the minimum and hope others do the heavy work. We will be allies worth having, partners worth trusting, friends worth keeping. Our condition," Secretary General Lee explained, "is that this arrangement be permanent, not a temporary contribution that we can withdraw when convenient, but an enduring commitment, humanity's strength dedicated to the Council's stability, our resources committed to collective security, our future tied to the future of all Council members. In exchange," she continued, "we ask for full partnership, a real voice in Council decisions, access to all diplomatic channels, not just some, and most importantly, honest cooperation, no secrets between allies. We have shared our history with you. We have shown you our vulnerabilities. We have explained our capabilities. We expect the same transparency from our partners in the Council." Councillor Mi-sun Park, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "We offer everything. We ask for honesty in return. That is our condition, true alliance or none at all." Velthar felt emotions he rarely experienced in diplomatic work: pride, hope, respect, even affection for these strange, fierce beings who had survived so much and learned such important lessons. "I must consult the Council," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "but I have little doubt they will accept these terms. What you offer is unprecedented, remarkable, exactly what the Council needs in these challenging times." Secretary General Lee smiled. "We hope so, Ambassador. The galaxy is vast and full of wonders, but also full of dangers. If intelligent species are to survive and thrive, we must stand together. Humanity learned that lesson the hard way, through blood and fire and terrible loss. We will not forget it. We will never forget it." 3 months later, everything had been arranged. The Galactic Council unanimously accepted humanity's terms. Treaties were signed, agreements were formalized, and now came the moment of official joining. The UN Indomitable led humanity's battle group through the Council's primary trade lanes. Velthar stood on the massive carrier's bridge as an honored guest. Around him, human crew members worked efficiently at their stations. Admiral Kim commanded from the captain's chair with calm authority. Through the main view screen, Velthar saw dozens of Council vessels waiting. Ships from 100 different worlds. Each one represented a different species, a different culture, a different history, but all united in common purpose. As the Indomitable approached, the Council ships began firing salutes, not weapons, but brilliant displays of colored light and energy, the universal sign of respect and welcome. Colors danced across space like auroras. Beautiful, welcoming, historic. "Ambassador," Admiral Kim said, turning to look at Velthar, "I believe this is the beginning of something extraordinary, something that will change the galaxy forever." Velthar watched the light show continue. He thought about his first encounter with the Indomitable, how it had frightened him, how he had worried about what kind of species could build such a thing. Now he understood. Now he saw that massive ship not as a threat but as a promise of protection, a promise of partnership, a promise of strength used for good purposes. "Admiral Kim," he replied with genuine warmth, "I believe you are absolutely right. The Council had welcomed countless civilizations throughout its long history, species of every type, from 1,000 different worlds. Each one brought something unique to the community, but Velthar knew humanity would be remembered as special. Very special indeed. They were born from tragedy, shaped by survival, driven by the memory of what could be lost, and now dedicated to ensuring no other species would ever face extinction alone. Their Titan-class carriers had been built as arcs to preserve humanity's future. Now they would serve a greater purpose, protecting the future of all civilizations willing to stand together. The Indomitable moved into formation with the Council fleet. Human ships taking their place alongside alien vessels. Different species working together, standing together, facing the future together. And in the cold vastness of space, surrounded by stars that had witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations, that unity made all the difference. That unity gave hope. That unity promised a better future for everyone. The galaxy had been waiting for humanity without knowing it. Now they had arrived, and nothing would ever be the same again.